Throughout history, suicide has both been condemned and condoned by various societies and religions. The topic of today's Twisted 10 includes stories of multiple cult religions that promoted suicide as a way to reach spiritual evolution. While we cite and mock these stories for their absurdity, suicide is no laughing matter. If you or anyone you know may be considering suicide for any reason, please reach out to the suicide hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Sometimes talking to a person outside your social circles, free of judgment, may help to overcome whatever is leading you down the path you're on. Today on the Twisted 10, we go there. Oh yes, cults. And welcome to another episode of The Twisted 10.
What up, guys?
What's up, fellas? I am Adam. I am your host. Just going to jump right in there and say that for this week. So I have the list this week.
Nice.
But with all, purposefully staged that way, who are my co-hosts tonight?
Dibs. I'm Josh. How you guys doing tonight?
What up, Josh?
And sitting over across from me.
Fucking Ron. Sorry.
Fucking Ron. Fucking Ron. What's up, fellas? Nice to have you back in the studio again. I just do this podcast so I get to hang out with my friends. That's the only reason that we do this show at this point. But
it's about right.
Except for those the people in India who are now third on our downloads. Which it's a fucking way to go, India. We want to hear from you guys.
They blew up on our list. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
And the only thing they've added to it is the fact I can't do my accent anymore. So whatever.
They would probably consider that racist, but
everybody's happier for it.
Fuck you, Josh.
Oh, all right. So we came off of a really good episode last week. Dan was here in studio and he did the whiskey episode.
Maybe.
And well, we've got some audio issues. Hopefully I can recover it. We'll see.
We're drinking again.
If not, I drank all the rest of those, by the way. So thank you, Dan, for the leftovers.
What was that one you liked the most? Angel's Semen?
Angel's Envy.
Oh,
I would have drank it if it said Angel's Semen. It was so fucking good. I came.
There was one that tasted like Angel's Semen. I gotta be honest.
That was
the burnt one.
That was the smoke.
No, Smokey Joe tasted like licking a fucking ashtray.
Yes,
that someone
absolutely.
poured a shot of whiskey into. It was so spot on for the worst whiskey flavorant I could possibly think of. It was awful.
A for execution and F for flavor.
Yeah. I mean, like, mad props to the distillery. It was done very well. They were going for something that tasted like smoke and ash, and
congratulations.
Good job.
They got it.
You did it.
They nailed it.
You nailed it.
Home run. All right. So with that in mind, Dan brought in all of these samplers for us to imbibe and test and talk about and discuss and etc. I loved it. It was one of my favorite episodes ever because it was multifaceted. He had a list that had, the whiskeys themselves, whiskeys and scotches and bourbons. Then he had quotes for every single one of his whiskeys, not tied to the whiskey, but just in addition to
quotes that he came up with himself.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
He found himself.
Whiskey quotes.
No,
that he found himself, that he kind of related to it. Yeah.
And then what was his third? He had a third angle to it as well.
He had the quotes, the whiskeys,
and the reasons why you should be.
That
really was the top 10 reasons
why
you
actual list.
Exactly.
Yes, the reasons you should or should not drink whiskey.
Well, should. Yes. It was always should.
It was all should.
Yeah, that's a good point. But so in that fashion, I've prepared something for you two gentlemen tonight. It's not whiskey. It's not alcohol. But I've prepared something. I'm going to take my headphones off. I'll be off mic. I'll kind of yell loud so you can hear me in the background, but I've prepared something for you guys. All right. First, let's give you guys your glasses.
He's taking his pants off.
We need our glasses to see. Is that why you got us the glasses?
That's a cool looking decanter.
All right, let me have your
I'm kind of nervous. I don't know what's going on here.
What kind of decanter is that?
He's pouring something into an interesting looking glass.
Don't drink it yet. You can smell it if you would like to.
Ooh, smells good.
But I want you guys to try this. If you like it, you're welcome to have more.
It smells like a good, clean disinfectant. It makes me want to inject it in myself.
This decanter, by the way, is straight up Tupperware. This is a Tupperware product.
I don't even know what a decanter is. It sounds like a street name.
I made it
Decanter Road.
I've just given Josh and Ron wine glasses with a liquid in it. And I would like them, when you guys are ready, as a pre-show initiation for the list that is forthcoming, I would like you to imbibe in the beverage that you have been given. Both of them are sipping. They both did the sniff test. Now both of them are sipping. I got a little bit of a mixed look at it.
Yeah, I was about to say, it tastes like not a real strong version of Kool-Aid.
Okay, Kool-Aid. It's not
Is this
Kool-Aid.
the top 10 flavors of Kool-Aid that stained your counter when you were a kid?
Is it Mio?
It is Mio. It's not. There's no sugar in it. There's caffeine in it, but
Mio,
there's no
it's
sugar.
good.
Oh, it's Mio Energy. Thank you.
It is. You can drink the rest of it if you want. There's a lot up there. So it's straight up Mio. But the point of this exercise was to test to see if my friendship with you deemed you to consume a beverage without asking. Just bottoms up.
Yeah.
You guys didn't quantify it. You didn't see me drinking it. You didn't ask anything.
You know, I thought about it for a millisecond. I said, interesting, he's not pouring himself a glass. But I decided, oh, whatever. It popped in my head and out in 2 seconds.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, I love where it's going. I don't know, but I think I love it.
And help yourself. It's cooled. It's chilled. So there's plenty of.
Is there alcohol in it?
No. It's just straight. It's good. It's great with vodka. So listeners, if you like black cherry Mio with vodka, it is an amazing drink. Just a heads up.
The thing that is so funny is that I have water in here now. The cup that I brought with me, the last thing I had in it was a full thing of Mio Energy.
Nice.
I think it's the same flavor, to be honest.
I've never had
cherry.
Mio before.
It is, but
great.
yeah, it's the same thing.
It's caffeine. So the reason, and I'm drinking a Coca-Cola tonight. I kind of went back to sodas, but I switched to Mio water for a long time. I know, because it's caffeinated and I need caffeine. I just don't want all the sugars and all the extra stuff because I was on that diet. Well, fuck it, I'm drinking caffeine tonight through Coca-Cola.
Hell yeah.
And sugar, not very keto.
There's a term. It's called drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm sure you've heard that term before.
Oh, yeah.
Drinking the Kool-Aid is an expression used to refer to a person who believes in a possibly doomed or dangerous idea because of the perceived potential high rewards. Just a phrase that's thrown around. The phrase often carries negative connotation. It can also be used ironically or humorously to refer to accepting an idea or changing a preference due to popularity, peer pressure, or persuasion. In recent years, it has evolved further just to mean extreme dedication to a cause or purpose. So extreme that one would be drinking the Kool-Aid and die for the cause. So when I started working for Tupperware, my father immediately said, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid as it's just an expression. But you guys just fucking bottoms up that Kool-Aid and didn't even ask questions. Oh, by the way, Kool-Aid is not an official Kool-Aid drink. It's Mio. It's a different product altogether.
I mean, it could be, though, if Kool-Aid wants to give us a bunch of money.
They want to sponsor the
Could
show.
be.
Or Mio. Drinking
Mio, yeah.
Drinking the Mio.
So where I guess Ron and I, back in the original incarnation of our podcast of Old School Living Podcariously, before the Twisted 10 was even a thing, had a really fun conversation about origins of words and origins of phrases.
Origins of expressions.
Origins of expressions.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
What is, and I know both of you guys probably know this, what is the origin of drinking the Kool-Aid?
I don't remember the name of the religion, but it was that fucking wackadoodle North American evangelist super revival camp that everybody drank Kool-Aid and they all died.
That's 100% spot on.
I can't.
I'll give you some more details.
They're still around. What is their name?
I'll give you some more details
okay.
about that particular guy and his cult in today's Twisted 10 top 10 crazy cults.
Nice. I like that.
You know, we've talked about cults on several of the shows, but I had to go back and look. We never did a show on cults, ever. Never did one. So we've mentioned them several times, like the Heaven's Gate and some others. But yeah, so that's what this show is going to.
Wait, are we, like we normally do, are we allowed to take guesses, even though you don't have to tell us whether we guess right or not?
Is this going to be set up in a guessing sort of way? Or is this...
So it's a great question. Here's how I'm going to do the top 10 crazy cults. So each and every one of these on this list can have a 2 or 3 hour podcast dedicated just to it. Every one of them. In fact, my favorite podcast other than ours, which is Time Suck with Dan Cummins, he deep dives cults. His little thing, he gets so excited about cults, he chants cults on his show to get his energy. But cults. He gets excited about it because he loves these fucking crazy people. And ironically, he uses the term wackadoodle too. So these are not the deep dives into each one of these. These are very top level, what the cult was, and then the follow on to each one of them is what their crazy act was.
Oh,
so
cool.
each one of them, each cult, I'll tell you a little bit about the cult, and then we'll go on to what they did that was crazy. There's no twist in today's show. The twist was really whether or not you guys would drink my Kool-Aid without asking because you trust me so much.
Yeah, I didn't even ask what it was.
You know what the worst part is?
Didn't.
Your showcase of friendship and trust means I will never take a drink from you without questioning it ever again. That privilege is gone now.
I just assumed for one it was some kind of alcoholic beverage, even though it didn't smell like it. I was like, this smells kind of sweet. It's some kind of sweet wine. I was like, would he really dare do like a top 10 wines after we just did top 10 whiskeys? That feels kind of
No.
But I had no idea where you were going with it, and I didn't care. I was just following along with you, and wherever you ended up is where I was ending up to.
So I use a little bit of social engineering and a little bit of psychology on the two of you to get you to consume it. All right. I put pressure on top of you off the beginning, saying this is an honor towards the last episode. So if you wouldn't drink it subconsciously, you would be dishonoring an episode. So I did put a little bit of manipulation on you. That's also tied into this list. Some of these people, guys and girls in this list, men and women, used unbelievable amounts of manipulation, social engineering, and human psychology against their victims, because I'm going to call them victims, of each one of these cults. It's unbelievable. You're going to know most of these, but I promise you there's a couple that you've never heard of ever before, because I didn't, and they're fucking fascinating. All right, so let's get right into the top 10 crazy cults. Number 10.
Are we doing it?
If you
Number
want to do
10.
it. If you want to do it. All right. So we're going to start off with the one that led to you two drinking the Kool-Aid, and that is People's Temple Jonestown. These sources, by the way, I'll read the sources on a couple of these. Some of them I just completely wrote from scratch from a bunch of different sources. Some of these I did copy and paste a couple of the clips on them. So this first one is mostly from history.com and Wikipedia. So People's Temple, also known as Jonestown. Jonestown is in the South American nation of Guyana. Jim Jones, a self-ordained Christian minister who was born in Indiana in 1931, founded what became the People's Temple Church in his home state in the 1950s, then relocated his congregation to California in the 60s. He eventually set up headquarters in San Francisco, where he had a large, racially diverse following and integrated himself with a number of political leaders by offering People's Temple members as campaign volunteers. Ironically, we were just talking about political volunteers in the pre-show. In 1977, following a slew of negative publicity about the temple, members being physically and mentally abused by Jones, he relocated with some 1,000 of his followers to the Guyanese jungle, where he promised them that he would create the utopian community that they were striving for. So that's all the details on the cult itself. They're a Christian religious foundation and backing, just with a complete nut job of a leader.
Man, it's that particular religion. Okay, so when you stay at a hotel and you're the last one awake, spouse, whatever's gone to sleep, kids are out, and you're just flipping channels and you just find that random ass thing that fascinates you. For me, in a recent hotel stay, actually, was it's killing me that I can't remember the name of the religion. They're still around.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of these. They're still practicing.
It blows my mind. They're much smaller than they used to be, obviously, since they all died. Which it just kind of sucks. But they killed off that religion. But there are still people that were like, that was the right thing to do, and those people are religious. They're treated as like martyrs.
Yeah, a lot of these religions or cults are segregations or sects of actual religious practices. So I don't know the foundation of where this particular Christian minister got his roots, but they all stem from a real religion that still exists outside and most likely have denounced the names of these cult leaders.
I have a question. Why isn't I hate to be this way.
No, do it.
Why aren't all religions? What's the difference between a cult and religion? What's the difference between Temple of people of Jones or whatever.
The People's Temple, Jonestown, yes.
And Catholicism.
No, that's a great question. And you could draw the same parallel to any religion out there, because what is perceived to be crazy or illogical actions and attitude and moralities, for me, might be different for you.
Exactly.
So one person's perception of Christianity is that it's horribly sinful, while the other person is devout and thinks that everything that is taught and practiced in that religion is the way to seek, an afterlife in heaven. So the only thing that differentiates these on my list tonight from the typical traditional religions is what I consider to be the crazy acts that these guys and girls did. I think that's the line in the sand where they went too far. Well, and a couple of these is amazing because you see the catalyst where they have done something that was just a little bit too far, and then they take it to the next extreme. They're like, oh, fuck, there's no coming back now. Let's kill them all.
Because there's a religion or two out there that really skirts the line.
yeah, that's true.
I'm wondering one particular is on your list. I won't ask.
Maybe. Yeah.
But there's one in particular. I wonder, is it on your list? And we're going to find out.
I'm sorry. So I did a quick Google of it, trying to find the name of the religion. And while just kind of skimming through this article, I found just one little anecdote that I thought was awesome. I guess not awesome. By the way, it was over 900 people in Jonestown. It's the number of people in that murder-suicide. But he made a fruit cocktail laced with cyanide and Valium and didn't use Kool-Aid, but rather a cheaper alternative called Flavor Aid to hide the bitter poison.
He couldn't afford Kool-Aid.
I can't find it.
So that's a way to steal my thunder, Josh. Wow. But that is my crazy act. So for number one,
sorry.
No, it's fine. Hey, guess what? You got a point. You guessed the crazy act right. So you got a point. Is that how we do? Is that how we're gonna? Let's do
sure.
It
Puts me in the lead.
Right.
I'm in.
So this is the crazy act for People's Temple in Jonestown on November 17th. Oh, I don't have the year. So whatever year it was. On November 17th, U.S. Representative Leo Ryan of California arrived at Jonestown to investigate claims that the temple members were being held there against their will. Ryan and his small delegate were received cordially, but the next day, as the congressman was waiting at a nearby airstrip with his group, which by then included some of the temple members who wanted to defect. Some of the temple members said, we're getting the fuck out of here with this guy. This congressman is here to investigate these allegations. We are being abused. Let's get right on his fucking jet and get the fuck out of Jonestown. They were ambushed by gunmen sent by Jones. Ryan and 4 others in the party were killed. Jones successfully killed a congressman down in Jonestown. Later, then that's the catalyst. That's what I was talking about. That was his catalyst where, he went a little bit too far. So then what does he do? He steps it up a notch. Later that day, Jones, who by then was declining in mental health and was highly addicted to drugs, according to the autopsies, ordered followers to commit what he termed, quote, a revolutionary act by drinking cyanide-laced juice. Those who resisted were forced to do so. So not only was it a suicide, but it turned into a murder as well. Jones died from a single gunshot wound to his head. Prior to the 9/11 attacks, the Jonestown tragedy marked the single largest loss of U.S. civilian lives in a non-natural disaster, about 900 or so. So there's your crazy act. That's what's different between Catholicism. Oh, no, I guess not. Catholicism has killed lots more than that.
I want to make it clear. I'm not saying Catholicism is a cult, and, 1 billion strong. I'm just stating. I just wanted to hear how you differentiated a cult from a religion.
I think when it comes to
crazy act is fair.
Yeah, I think the crazy act and I define the crazy act as being either taking of a life or horrible.
I got one for you.
Horrible manipulation of somebody else's life.
The motherfucking Spanish Inquisition.
No, I got it. And actually, one of these
look it up and you tell me.
One of these is linked to the
crazy and horrible.
One of these is linked to the Knights Templar as an example. That's where it got its foundation from. So we'll get to that one.
What about Nazism? Is that a cult? Some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
People followed along.
Well, you could define anything as a cult. Yeah, people that run the local flea market, you could consider those people a fucking cult as well. But that doesn't.
But did they have? Yeah, but you said a crazy ass act. 6 million.
Yeah, I left out any acts of war. I left those types of things out. These are all predominantly done by one or a few people influencing the masses of people that follow them.
Yeah, one or two people.
Right. Now I can see Hitler was the one who influenced that, but I understand what you're saying.
No, I get you. No, I completely see where.
All right, number 9.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you want to add something to it?
I thought I was going to add something to it. I realized that what I was thinking of is separate from this. It's a different cult thing, and I'm not going to say it because I would bet money, lots of money, that it's on your list.
Probably
lots of money.
There's
what
5.
do you consider lots of money?
Pick a number.
Pick a number.
That
okay.
much.
All right, okay, $12.
That much, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money to me. I'm a dad with 4 kids. That's a hell of a lot of money to me. All right, number 9.
Number 9. Come on.
9. 9.
All right, so bear with me on the translation here. I'm not good with words. Number 9 is called Shinrikyo, and that translates to supreme truth.
From what language?
Japanese. So this is sourced from history.com and bbc.com as well as Wikipedia. Wikipedia is on all of these, so let's just blanket that to the rest of them. Forgive the horrible translations or horrible English that I've got. Born into a poor family in Japan in 1955, Shoko Ashara, real name Chizuru Matsumoto, lost part of his vision at a young age due to an illness. He established Shinrikyo as a religious organization that promoted Buddhist and Hindu concepts along with elements of the Bible. So you're kind of mixing a lot. And anybody want to guess what the 4th influence to his religious practice was?
Voodoo.
Almost. It's almost voodoo.
Oh.
It is the prophecies of Nostradamus.
Oh,
so
well.
Pretty damn close. So you've got Christianity, you've got Buddhism, Hindu, and Nostradamus all tied into one religion. Eventually,
that sounds pretty awesome so far.
Right. There's a couple of these that on surface, I'm like,
check these out.
These aren't bad.
I think we can, since they killed everybody, let's restart them up.
Do me a favor, Josh, while I'm reading this, and Ron, while I'm reading this, pull up your phone and do a search. Don't read the details, but just do a Google image search for this guy, because he looks, and I get it, he's stoned, and I apologize for making a bad reference to somebody who had vision problems, but fuck this guy. He did some bad stuff. He looks like he's stoned as hell. Do a search for Shoko, Shoko, Ashara.
Got it.
Asahara.
Yeah, he can't.
Asahara.
The same. Yeah, the second.
He looks stoned as hell.
He looks awesome. Follow him to the end of the world.
Eventually, Asahara began claiming he could read minds and levitate. Asahara declared himself to be both Christ and the first enlightened one, quote, enlightened one, since Buddha. So he's taken on some pretty big roles. The group, whose name is often shortened to just AUM, gained official status as a religious organization in Japan in 1989. Asahara picked up a sizable global following, speaking at universities and writing books. At its peak, had tens of thousands of members worldwide. This is a big-ass organization.
This is a religion.
Yeah, it is a straight-up religion. The group had more than 30,000 followers, 10,000 in Japan alone. The largest secondary following was in Russia. In 1990, he and some of his followers ran for parliament, but they lost. So that is the end of this short recap on this guy and his religion. The next up is his crazy act. Do you guys want to take a guess what he might have done for his crazy act?
I'm going.
If you remember media, this was in the news back in 1989, 1990, 1995. I apologize.
1995, and it was in the news. I was in Germany, so I was in Germany getting rebroadcasted American TV on AFN, so I don't.
You were
and
like,
I
and you
was
were like
6,
10.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you were like 10,
so, but I'm gonna guess that he did some sort of publicity stunt similar to Buddha, where he locked himself into something for a long time.
Okay,
it's a little bit vague, but that's how Buddha kind of put himself out,
like a David Blaine type.
I mean, except Buddha intentionally did not come back from his well.
I don't know anything about Buddha.
He died in a well.
Okay.
On purpose, though, but like he sealed himself in. It was a thing.
Do you have a guess what Chizuru Matsumoto, aka Shoku Asahara,
broke the world record for acupuncture?
God damn it!
I have no idea.
He got it. What the?
No way, dude. I was gonna say what the hell.
All right. So here is his crazy act. In the 90s, the cult began stockpiling chemical weapons. The day was 20 March 1995. The time was morning rush hour. Shinrikyo's target was one of the busiest confined transportation methods in the world, Japanese subways, where millions of people travel every day. On board the trains that morning were bags filled with liquid nerve agent left by the members of the cult. The packages were leaking, they were intended to leak. Passengers felt stinging fumes hitting their eyes. The toxin struck victims down in a matter of seconds, leaving them choking and vomiting, some blinded and paralyzed. The death toll wasn't as much as I think that they had hoped for. It was still pretty bad. 27 people died, but over 6,000 people were injured and exposed to this chemical.
So he was a terrorist.
He was a terrorist.
Yeah, 100% terrorist. The cause was sarin, a nerve agent developed by the Nazis. It was the worst domestic terror attack ever carried out on Japanese soil. After years on death row, the cult leader, Shoko Ashihara, was put to death along with several of his followers.
How did they kill him?
I didn't get into the details.
I'm just they have a very eye.
They
for
broke
an eye
the
culture.
record for they broke the world record for acupuncture.
Oh, Jesus. You got to say that one at least 2 more times. All right, number 8.
Won't be funny anymore.
Number 8.
This is Marshall Applewhite. Does anybody get it? Marshall Applewhite.
I know Christina Applegate.
With Heaven's Gate cult.
Oh.
Heaven's Gate is a very popularized cult, so we'll just...
I'd never heard of it, actually.
Oh, you might remember, as I read this, you might recognize some of it. This guy's picture is predominant with cult. If you look up Marshall Applewhite, he looks like a fucking cult leader. He's like a Koresh looking kind of guy. Teaser. History.com and allthat'sinteresting.com was my sources for this one. Applewhite, a Texas... Did you find the picture?
Yes.
Show it to Josh. I'm sure Josh remembers, but...
Oh, yeah.
Cuckoo!
Yeah, I would totally not listen to anything he had to say.
Oh, I would
To
listen.
tell you the truth.
Applewhite, a Texas native born in 1931, worked as a music teacher before co-founding what would become Heaven's Gate in the 1970s with Bonnie Nettles. These two are your weird couple. They like to be called Bo and Peep, or later Do and T. Sometimes they went by Tiddly and Wink.
Like Mountain Dew and tea.
And then their other one that they like to be called is Winnie and Pooh. So they were that couple, guys. Just if you go out to dinner and they refer to each other as Winnie and Pooh the whole time, yeah, you know you're with some
Winnie,
freaks.
like Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. Yes.
Oh, honey.
Oh, so they called each other that. They didn't, or did they demand other people? Like, excuse me, sir, my name is Pooh today.
Apu, a Pasapita Petalon from The Simpsons.
They killed that character. Well, they didn't kill it off. They just don't write for that character anymore, or
Well,
they
that's some.
pulled it. Whatever. Anyway, all right.
Maybe his,
I don't know the answer.
Maybe
to your
his
question,
7-Eleven went bankrupt due to COVID. I'm sorry.
It's a stretch.
Oh, so bad.
The group lived nomadic, secretive existence and subscribed to a philosophy that combined elements of science fiction and belief in UFOs with biblical ideas. By the 1990s, some members made more money for the group by operating a website or a web design and computer servicing business. In the fall of 1996, Heaven's Gate members moved into the Rancho Santa Fe mansion where they lived a regimented existence. Using... no, go ahead.
Sorry, they gave up being nomads. Like, fuck this.
At that point, yes.
We want to live in a nice mansion now.
That storyline kind of jumps around a little bit, but yeah, when they first, I'm going to kind of go back to when they first started out and then move back to that mansion. So yeah, the mansion is important later in this little story.
Sorry, I'll stop interrupting.
No, you're fine. To interrupt as much as you want. Using flyers and speaking events, Applewhite and Nettles would recruit their followers. In the presentation and others like it, Applewhite and Nettles promoted Heaven's Gate, then calling it Human Individual Metamorphosis, with the acronym of HIM, and Total Overcomers Anonymous. So I don't really get the use of unless they were just going for acronyms. So TOA, and HIM, whatever. With the premise, this is the premise behind these speeches that he was involved with, that a UFO would come and whisk the cult members away, elevating them to a new world and a better life they called Telah, T-E-L-A-H, the evolutionary level above human. Through this grassroots approach, the founders of Heaven's Gate cult were able to convince people to leave their homes and belongings behind to travel around the country in extreme poverty for over 2 decades. The cult members did not have real home. They maintained anonymity. When Nettles died in 1985 from cancer, this is his woman, Applewhite shifted his cult religion to focus on a singular strain of his beliefs, that the human body is merely a vessel or a vehicle, that we're carrying them on the journey and could be abandoned at any time. So there's the recap on Heaven's Gate. Next up is the Crazy Act. You guys might remember this. Ron, you better not be Googling it.
Oh, no, I'm not Googling
All right.
anything.
So if you remember Heaven's Gate, and I kind of touched base with UFO a little bit, what do you think was their Crazy Act? This was very publicized.
We've talked about it before. We've talked about Heaven's Gate in particular, so I don't want to guess. I just feel like it's unfair.
Do you know it, Ron? I know Josh does.
No, I have no guess.
No guess at all? All right. All right, so here's the Crazy Act. 39 active Heaven's Gate cult members used their money they had made from a variety of online enterprises, a service to help people reconnect with lost friends, and a web design firm called Higher Source, to rent this mansion in the gated community just outside of San Diego. Believing that the comet Hale-Bopp was a UFO sent to them from Tela, which is this next plane of existence, Applewhite put his master plan into motion. Hale-Bopp, if you remember, was that visible comet you could see with the naked eye during the day and night. It was super, super bright and very, very easy to see. It was really cool. I remember it. Beginning on March 26th, over the course of 3 days, the 39 cult members ate a mixture of barbiturates and applesauce, then washed it down with some vodka. Group by group, they tied bags over their heads to ensure asphyxiation, then waited for death. Those later in the lineup cleaned up the mess made by the first groups and laid the bodies out neatly in their bunk beds, covering their faces with a purple cloth. When a former cult member came to check on them, he found 39 people lying neatly in their bunk beds, identical black and white Nike sneakers, poking out from underneath the purple shrouds. Matching armbands read, Heaven's Gate Away Team. That is Heaven's Gate.
It's such a wild.
People will believe anything. So many people are so easily led. It's really sad.
And for those of you
easily fooled. What is it? Wait, if I may quote, if I may quote the right person here, Einstein, is easier to fool somebody than convince them they've been fooled. That is just such a profound quote from him, and so beyond true. and cults just feed right into that for me.
Oh yeah, I like that quote. Consider that stolen, sir.
It's stolen from Albert Einstein.
All right, ready for number 7?
Let's do it.
Number 7. This is
7.
Oh, what, now you want to participate, Ron?
Well, now you don't?
Yeah, I gave up on you.
Never give up on me. I'm slow. I'm always slow to the party.
Number 7.
There we go. This one is also very publicized, and you know that this one was going to have to make the list. This is David Koresh and the Branch Davidians.
Branch Davidians.
Yes. I got a lot of sources for this.
Extremely famous.
History.com, Britannica.com, Washington Post, the
Flat Earther Society?
The I think it's the geopolitician.org and Wikipedia. I have to reference that later. All right. The Branch Davidians are one of several groups that continue the work of Victor Hutev, who died in 1955, a Bulgarian immigrant to the United States and a Seventh-day Adventist, SDA. Layman. He was a layman. He was a lawman who said...
Well, that's two different things.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's a little typo there, Adam. Who set the tracks entitling, quote, Shepherd's Rod in 1929, called for the reform of the SDA Church.
Rod. I like it.
Even the non-cult part of that religion is still a little bit of a weird one, but
it sounds like pornographic to me. If you ever had Shepherd's Rod, Josh?
Well, listen to this other quote. One of the factions opposed to Hutef's leadership was called the Davidians, and they used the quote to, quote, get off the dead rod and move on to the living branch, unquote. That was their, I don't know why
that's
they
what
liked
she
quotes.
said.
Koresh, born Vernon Wayne Howell in 1959 in Texas, was a high school dropout and a musician who in 1981 moved to Waco to join the Branch Davidian. Koresh, who claimed to be the Messiah, eventually became the sect's leader, headquartered in the existing compound known as, anybody know the name of that compound?
I know it was
It's a
in
weird
Waco,
name.
Texas, but
It's Waco, Texas,
I
that's
don't
right.
know the name of it.
It's called Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel. That sounds delicious.
It does sound
It's
delicious.
right next to the chocolate factory.
What he does that's crazy does not make it delicious, though. In that role, he preached, and remember, he's the sex leader in that section now. In that role, he preached that the end of the world was near and began stockpiling weapons. Koresh launched a retail gun business, and from some allegations of abuse within his religious cult, attracted the attention of the ATF and the FBI. So that's the end of the brief summary. Again, I'm not going to deep dive the religion or, the foundations or anything like that, because we don't have that long of a show. This is 10 of them kind of packed into a couple of hours. So that's the brief summary. Now on to the crazy act. You guys know kind of what happened with this, right? Or is it?
Well, here's the thing. We know what was said to have happened and released from the government, and we know what has been more discovered and found out over the past recent years, and it is two completely different stories.
That's very true. So,
I don't know. Let's
This
just
summary-
say I'm not sure which one to believe, and I'm going to give it 50-50 at best.
I'll tell you this. I didn't focus on who was to blame for the fire in my summary of a crazy act.
Okay.
Yes, the fire
Fair.
that I'm going to read about, I do kind of skirt the idea of where it came from, but I also show whatever. Just listen. You'll see where
Sir.
He does some other stuff that's so crazy, so much more crazy in this cult, that the fire and the deaths of all these people almost made it seem less important.
I love how he brings in all the couples and tells the husband, "You must not have sex, but I must have sex with all the women."
It's 100% right.
Yeah, damn, dude. That's now that sounds like something. If I was going to start a cult, it'd be a rule number 1.
Always,
I'm
have
the
sex.
only one in here that has sex.
Yeah, that's what all cult leaders are supposed to do, right? That's like Cult 101. All right, the incident began when the ATF attempted to serve a search warrant on the ranch, on the Mount Carmel. An intense gunfight erupted, resulting in the deaths of 4 government agents and 6 Branch Davidians. Upon the ATF's entering the property and failure to execute the search warrant, a siege lasting 51 days was initiated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So basically, the ATF tried, failed. FBI came up and said, "Fuck out of our way. We're going to do this right." And maybe they did, or maybe they didn't. Eventually, the FBI launched an assault and initiated a tear gas attack to force the Branch Davidians out of the ranch. Shortly thereafter, the Mount Carmel Center quickly became engulfed in flames. The fire resulted in the deaths of 76 Branch Davidians, including 25 children, 2 pregnant women, and David Koresh himself. In 2000, it was disclosed that the FBI and ATF had in fact used breaching weapons that had flammable attributes, yet were exonerated by federal judges to be the cause of the fire. So that's part of your piece that's a little bit speculative. There's no way now that we know of to officially prove who started the fire. A lot of people speculate that it could have been David himself when he's realizing he was losing. And then a lot of people think that it was the poor handling of the case and the siege by the FBI and the ATF. So I know there's a ton of it out there. We could back and forth on it for hours, but we're not the smartest people in the case on this. There's lots of other shows. There's lots of other researches that has been done on what caused that fire. Personally, I think it was David, but after reading everything I've read, I think he started it because he's a coward and he realized he was going to lose.
I don't know, man. You don't have to be exonerated from something you didn't do.
I mean, technically, yeah, you're right, but
Again, I feel like it's 50-50 at
That's what I'm
best.
saying. Yeah.
It's tough. I'm not
There's
sure.
no
which
way to know.
Here's where it gets a little bit more bizarre. And I didn't actually know this. I'd never really done the research into David Koresh and the Branch Davidians, and I had no idea that this was going on. But Koresh's only legal marriage was to Rachel Jones, who was only 14 at the time of their wedding. But Koresh asked his followers to embrace celibacy, nullified his followers' marriage, and then took all of the women for himself, including Rachel's 12-year-old sister, Michelle.
Sorry, I stole your thunder on that.
No, that's okay. This isn't new news to a lot of people. It was new news to me, though.
New news.
The Branch Davidians were told that if Koresh had sex with a woman, she was in the house of David.
In the house.
Koresh admitted to fathering 12 children by several wives, quote wives, though other sources say it might have been 15 or more. The real catalyst for the fire that took the lives of the Branch Davidians is officially a mystery. It is suspected and speculated that Koresh knew he was not going to survive and set the fire, killing everyone himself.
So one thing I will say about this guy was in and out of that compound all the time.
Yeah.
There was no reason that shit had to go down to begin with, regardless of who started the fire and how it happened. It never had to be that way.
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. Josh, solo, go.
Johnny Way, Joe DiMaggio. Okay, anyway. They could have had that guy anytime. He was still doing performances at the local bar. They could anytime they wanted. That siege and everything that went down, regardless of who started the fire, Billy Joel, did not have to happen. Period. So that's the number one mistake made right there.
I think from when the ATF began their first search warrant, and this again, I'm not an expert in this, but when they began their first search and seizure warrant that they had initiated against David Koresh, that's when he stayed locked in. If they would have done what you're recommending before that initial search and seizure warrant, then you're right. They could have nabbed him out of town and then gone in there way more peacefully, and we would have 76 plus people that are still alive today. So yeah, I think you're right. But
including women and children.
Once he got that knock on the door, he was in. He was in for good. He didn't come back out. 51 days of battling, man. It was intense.
Yeah, that's what happens when you tell the government, no, you can't come inside.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I don't care if it's your house.
The only problem that I have with that whole situation is, I mean, well, there's lots of problems that I have with that, but if he had not, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can say if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. But if he had not set up that retail business for selling firearms, the ATF would have never been wise to him. And this whole thing would have never escalated to the point that it ended up in those many people dying.
That's true.
So there were 1,000 ways to get around this, but we didn't. And that's now history for us.
Thank you, Janet Reno.
Yeah, Janet Reno was the Attorney General at the time.
Under Clinton at the time it happened.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, whatever. All right, everybody's got their opinion on that. You guys ready for number 6?
Yes.
Number 6.
I got a little list I've written, like when you started.
It's not your week?
No. That was good. And I just, so far you've knocked one off the list.
Oh, cool.
Oh, list of cults you're aware of.
That I just popped in my head when you started. That's why when I asked you, hey, are we going to get to guess some? No, apparently that wasn't allowed on this show. So,
because you're too good, Ron.
Yeah, no. So far that was definitely had to be. It was like number 1 on the list.
This is one that I didn't know about. I knew no details about, but I knew the name of it. So number 6 is called Order of the Solar Temple, aka the Doomsday Cult. And this is Joseph DiMambro from history.com, filmdaily.com, and britannica.com. That's where my sources are from. DiMambro, born in France in 1924, sacré bleu, I had to. Good eye, Mike. Founded the Order of the Solar Temple and made the charismatic Luc Jouret, a homeopathic doctor born in 1947, the organization's public face. So you got the founder, this Mambro guy, and then you got the public face of it being
Mambro number 5. Sorry. That's so bad.
He's a cold leader. He's a cold leader, so it's not bad.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine.
It's just a bad joke. That's all.
The secretive group was believed to have members in Canada, Switzerland, France, Australia, and other countries. And Jouret preached about impending environmental disasters and the coming of the end of the world, along with his belief system that combined elements of New Age philosophy, Christianity, and astrology. So he tied in two pretty popular, well, one religion, Christianity, and then New Age philosophy, which is kind of out in its own world, and then of course astrology.
like New Age philosophy, like law of attraction, things like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with law of attraction.
A lot of meta science behind it. Yeah, a lot of
pseudosciences.
100% pseudo. Yeah, thinking that if you think about something long enough, it will manifest itself.
That's law of attraction. That's exactly what that is.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
The Solar Temple traced its history to the revival of the Knights Templar, a military religious order founded in the 12th century that was suppressed by papal command in 1312. Papal command is the Pope.
What's up, papal? Damn, my jokes are bad.
I am never going to read that line.
So
again,
about
God, I hope you have to read that word 10 more times. Hey, people. God dang it. So bad.
So you were not wanting to offend the Catholics, right? Is that what you said earlier?
Oh, were we speaking of
people.
were we speaking of the papacy? I am so sorry.
Integral to the teachings of the Solar Temple was the belief that the Earth would face a worldwide catastrophe in the mid-1990s. In anticipation of this apocalyptic event, members believed it was necessary to enter a higher spiritual plane. Several millionaires, French policemen, respected civil servants, doctors, and more were all part of the Order of the Solar Temple. Remember, it's got its foundation in Christianity, so it's not so far-fetched that, I would say normal citizens of Christianity foundations wouldn't just, not accept these teachings. So it was loosely tied to Christianity as well.
Could you buy rank? Is that why affluent people? Sorry, I bet that other one is also on your list, so...
Yeah, we'll get there. Members of the Order of the Solar Temple believe that once the end of the world comes, they will be transported to a planet orbiting the star Sirius in order to live out their afterlife. Very specific location for where heaven is to these people. To be granted this privilege, of course, one had to be a devout member. Many fees are required, and this allowed past leaders of the Order of the Solar Temple to live a lavish lifestyle. One of their core beliefs is that the imminent end of the world will mark the second coming of Jesus Christ. Their special title for Jesus is the Solar God King. All right, so that's all I've got on the order before moving into their crazy acts. So let's see if you guys can guess.
Tell us what them people did. Sorry. All right, last time. Sorry, that was the last time.
I know that it's not going to be, but that's okay. That's why you're here, for your comedy value. Wait, we have to reassess that, don't we?
Yeah, comedy value. Oof.
So what do you think the Order of the Solar Temple, what do you think their crazy acts were?
He convinced, or I don't want to say he, the leadership of this cult convinced people that they could be Solarians and live off of the energy of the sun.
It's a good guess. It's creative. Ron?
Broke the world record for acupuncture.
There it is. Crazy act. One of the most atrocious crimes perpetrated by the Order of the Solar Temple was the murder of one of its families. When DeMombro found out that Antonio
number 5, sorry.
Antonio and Nikki DeToit had named their newborn Emmanuel, he was incensed. Incensed meaning upset, Ron. I know you need help with those words.
You mean he smelled really good? He was incensed.
You deserve it, though.
I love it.
One of the main beliefs of the Order of the Solar Temple is that the sign of the end of the world would be the birth of the Godchild. DeMombro had already given one of his other children this title, so he was kind of pissed. He's like, no, my kid's the Godchild, not your kid. The Order murdered the entire family, stabbing them to death with wooden stake after DeMombro declared DeToit's baby boy to be the Antichrist. Now, remember when I said a couple of these did a catalyst that like, oh, we've really gone over the line?
Let's just take it the rest of the way.
Got to go the whole way.
Yeah.
You're all in at this point. Soon after, it was declared that the apocalypse was nearer than ever before and ecological collapse was imminent. Jurette and DeMombro told members it was necessary that they transport themselves ahead of time in order to get an early start on inhabiting the planet orbiting Sirius. October 4th and 5th, 1994, 53 members of the Solar Temple in Canada and Switzerland were murdered or committed suicide, and the buildings in which they lived were set on fire. A year later, another 16 members killed themselves, and 5 more did similarly in March of 1997. Those who refused to follow up in poisoning themselves were apparently forced into the afterlife. Swiss officials found many members shot in the head or asphyxiated with plastic bags in the charred remains of the cult's villages. So yeah, they went straight.
Wow.
They went straight murder suicide for their end of days.
They were doing okay there for a while. They're a little wacky, but that's just because how I've been taught Christianity my whole life. So, so a little wacky.
So
then just fucking murdered a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. It's a little bit nuts. So we have people that are riding on a UFO behind a comet. We have people that are on a planet around Sirius. We have, they didn't promise to go anywhere.
Heaven's Away team.
Yeah, Heaven's Gateway team. That's the comment. Yeah, so
the comments,
these, I don't know the best way to describe these people. I mean, fanatic is one thing for the followers of those cults. They are so entrenched by the teachings and the philosophy of that cult leader that they will literally do anything that cult leader says. It doesn't matter what it is. Go murder this family and their brand new baby that was just born with wooden stakes, and it's done. Any logical thinker, I would like to think, would not have to fall into those same traps, but apparently,
people strap bombs to themselves and get on public buses. So
yeah, I guess that's a good point.
They're just broken, evil people out there.
Oh, yeah. All right, that's 10 through 6. So you're gonna take a break?
Yeah,
sounds good.
Take a little break in studio.
You guys want me to get you some more Kool-Aid?
Yes.
Oh, Mio, yes.
All right, we'll be right back.
Oh, I need rest. I've been up a few days, now I feel it in my chest. Nothing is for certain, so I wonder what's next. And if it ain't for the fame, guess I'm working for respect. I'm working for respect. Oh, tell me what I'm singing for. I didn't mean to just slip my mind. Oh, I wish someone had told me the money don't buy me time. Now I walk behind my own lead. Now I finally got my way. But if they tell you that is easy, oh, it gets harder every day.
And welcome back to the Twisted 10. So this week is cults.
Oh my god.
Fucking cults, Ron. Cults. All right, I'm going to recap 10 through 6. Number 10 started out with the People's Temple, Jonestown.
The people?
Number 9 was Japanese Shinrikyo. God damn it.
Skinny Bop?
Shinrikyo. Number 8 was Heaven's Gate, Marshall Applewhite. Number 7 was Branch Davidians, David Koresh. Number 6 was Order of the Solar Temple, a.k.a. the Doomsday Cult, with Joseph DeMambro. Do it. Just to get it out of your system.
Oh, the Mambro number 5?
Actually, you should have gone, hey, Mambro Italiano. Why didn't you do that? That would have been...
Yeah, it'd have been better. But I didn't think about it.
All right, I'm going old school tonight, guys. This is real paper in my hands. I usually don't do that. I usually use the tablet.
He hates trees.
I do. I hate the trees. The next cult, number 5, is all about killing of trees. No. Number 5.
Number 5.
5.
Number 5 is the Children of God, David Brandt Berg, or David Berg. You guys ever heard of this one before?
Not
Some of these I
aware
told
of.
you're not going to recognize them.
He sounds like a familiar. Anyways,
You're already too late to have everything that's left on my list because I have kind of a long list and we're already at 5. So,
All right. Children of God, now known as the Family International. Yes, they are still practicing. Founded itself on communal living referred to as colonies all over the world. They would postulatize in streets and distributed pamphlets. David Berg, a former Christian and Missionary Alliance pastor, founded COG, Children of God, in 1968. Berg communicated with his followers by writing letters. He published nearly 3,000 letters over a period of 24 years, referred to as the Mo letters, M-O letters. In a letter written in January 1972, Berg stated that he was God's prophet for the contemporary world, attempting to further solidify his spiritual authority within the group. TFI, which is now the Family International, believes that the Bible passage, and yes, I'm going to get a little bit biblical here. I'm going to read some of these quotes from the Bible. Quote, "I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you lose on earth will be lost in heaven." That's from Matthew 16:19. according to TFI beliefs, the passage refers to the keys that were hidden and unused in centuries that followed, but were again revealed through the Karen Zerby, which is currently the former leader of TFI, as more power to pray and obtain miracles. So, long story short, there are these hidden keys in our society that bring you closer to your religious foundation and will literally allow miracles to come true.
Like metaphoric keys,
no,
or actual keys,
literal keys.
that you like.
Well, not like a key, but
dig up into the earth and find them, like
Yes.
like something. You can
a relic,
hold. Okay.
or a trinket or something that signifies by holding and possessing this, the prayers that you pray for miracles will 100% come true because you're holding this tie to God.
Wow, did he sell them? How much are they?
You can get them for $13.99 on Amazon. TFI members call on the various keys of the kingdom for extra effect during prayer. So they'll hold these keys and relics that they found to actually believing that they'll help them get their prayers answered faster.
We have a term for these in D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. They're called spell focuses. They're what you use to collect and channel the energy of the universe.
Maybe Children of God was just
No, I was kidding.
maybe Children of God was just like a D&D group.
It's just a D&D game that went awfully wrong.
So yeah, that's the basic foundation of Children of God. So nothing too outlandish or too crazy in that. Granted, they got some, they move their focus more to these devices to put them in touch with their prayers and their religion, but it's not so bad so far. So what do you guys think is the crazy act of the Children of God?
Well, they had to live in colonies. They had to give up all their worldly possessions, or that was just a passage from Matthew.
No, so all it said is what you obtain during your life, you get to take with you to heaven. But if you lose something during your life, it doesn't go with you to heaven. So if you have that makes me so my dog that I lost when I was like a 12-year-old kid, I'm not going to see him in heaven. Well, I don't understand that.
Time out. I saw that movie. All dogs go to heaven.
Very good. What do you think their crazy act was,
I
right?
don't know. They buried people alive. I don't know why that came to my head.
Yeah, seems, and I'm setting you up for this because
Obviously,
this is such
it's
a
gonna be
crazy.
awful.
Yes, it's so fucking cool.
They flayed children or something. I'm sorry.
You guys, whatever. You guys would want to be part of this religion. I'm just telling you now. I mean, maybe not now if you're married, but
They had an orgy so big it made Caligula look like a Cinemax movie.
Caligula was a great movie, man. That was such a good reference, good throwback. I'm gonna
like
go
that. I went
download
super
that.
old school on
Yeah,
you.
you did. That was awesome. All right, so here is the crazy act of the Children of God, number 5. The Children of God were abolished in February of 1978. Berg reorganized the movement amid reports of serious misconduct and financial management. The chain's abuse of authority and disagree. So the chain, sorry, I didn't put this in here, but the chain was the term they used to discuss like the management of this group. They're called the chain. All right. So
Okay.
I don't know the reference. I didn't read that deep into it, but whatever. So
Because like if somebody wasn't acting how they should, then bitches was off the chain.
Wow.
Wow, I was way too long of a build. Just cut that out, Tach. Thanks.
Tach, leave
Tach,
that in.
cut it out.
All right. So the
I'll
chain's
give you
abuse,
cookies.
the chain's abuse of authority and disagreements within it about the continued use of, quote, flirty fishing, unquote. The group was also accused of sexually abusing and raping minors within the organization. That's the really bad part. More on the flirty fishing in just a second, but the really bad part is what they did with minors.
Flirty fishing. Was it like fishing in like a little bikini? Hey boys, and just casting out there like with a really limp wrist.
Kind of. There's not a lot of creative flexibility given to the whoever coined that phrase for them. It's basically what it sounds like, but here,
that's
I'll get into
boring.
it. Sort of. No. Well, you'll hear it here. So the group was accused of sexually abusing and raping minors within the organization with considerable evidence to support the claim. 1/8 of the total membership left the movement once this evidence came to surface. Those who remained became part of the reorganized movement called the Family of Love and later the Family. Remember, the Family International is what they are now. The majority of the group's beliefs remain the same. So Berg, here, this is the craziest part. Berg introduced a new proselytizing method called flirty fishing, or FFing.
I'm sorry, real quick. You've used that word twice now. Postulitizing.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
just
a new word to me. I don't know
it's
that one.
proselytizing, PR. So it's just
Like
it's how you
prostration, like prostrate. They like prostrate themselves. Proselytizing.
No, it's a term to talk about religion, how you spread your word of your religion. How you proselytize your religion is how you get it out to the ears of other people.
Okay, interesting.
So it's marketing.
Cool. Sorry,
it's religious marketing.
New word.
Yeah, no, you're good. Where was I? Oh, okay. So Berg introduced the new proselytizing method called, quote, flirty fishing, or FFing, which encouraged female members to, quote, show God's love, unquote, through sexual relationships with potential converts, meaning people who weren't part of their religious practice. How did you become part of this religious practice? Well, you got to bang the girls that were part of the religion.
This is totally like recruiting football players at college. This is like how they do it in the SEC right here.
Flirty fishing was practiced by members of Berg's inner circle starting in 1973 and was introduced to the general membership in 1976 and became common practice within the group. It caught on. They're like, well, this is a great idea. Let's do it. Let's do this.
Man, this has been great. You know, I'll check out your religion and stuff. On to the next city. See if I can find some flirty fishers.
So it spread throughout the religion around the world. The numbers. So I'll just read you the only part that really is funny. Researcher Bill Bainbridge obtained data from TFI suggesting that from 1974 all the way through 1987, so this isn't that long ago, members had sexual contact with how many people worldwide using this flirty fishing technique? How many people do you think had sexual interaction with this religion?
I'm going Price is Right rules, Ron?
Ooh, yeah.
Best stat.
Don't go over.
Best without going over.
Best without going over.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to say 250,000, 250,000.
Okay, Ron?
Price is Right rules? 1.
The winner is Ron. But Josh, you were remarkably close. The number is 223,989 people, according to this researcher Bill Bainbridge, from the data
Bruce
collected
Banner?
by TFI.
I'm going to count that as a win for me.
That's a lot.
No, absolutely. Even though you stated the rules of Price is
I
Right
know,
rules,
I
they
know.
completely changed
But I want
how
the
the game is
rules.
played.
I want the rules that end with me winning.
Okay.
That's what I.
That's a lot of FFing.
That's crazy.
That's a hashtag FF.
You said they're still around.
Yeah, the current.
Where are they recruiting?
So, just to clarify,
Road trip.
in 1987 was when they reorganized into the Family International from the Family, which prior to that was Children of God. So they went through several iterations of the religion. However, now they do not do flirty fish because it's illegal. I mean, that's kind of the most important reason, but they stopped that practice.
And that's why I asked, because it's not illegal everywhere.
That's true.
So
this is true.
You know, that seems barbaric, but
If you're part of this organization and looking to recruit, I just want to mention that I'm currently a religious free agent.
oh, that's awful.
Oh, for our first pick of the 2020 draft for religious occupation, we choose Ron. All right. Yeah. So yeah, they're still out there. The Family International. If you go to their website, you can see a picture. I only briefly touched on her name, which is Karen Zerby, but she's their current leader.
Bet you some other people more than briefly touched on her.
Or she touched on other people to get them to convert.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
No,
even
that's
less
just-
work. Hell
That's
yeah.
just allegations.
Yeah.
I don't know that to be true. Don't sue me, Church of
Allegedly. That's all you have to say with anything.
Church of fucking.
Church of fucking.
your name is.
Church of F hashtag FF.
All right, number 4.
Number 4.
Again, forgive me on the translation, please. This one comes to us from CBS News and Wikipedia. The last one was also CBS News and Wikipedia as well. So number 4 is Rajneeshpuram, the Mystic. This is India, the country of India, not the Native Americans referred to here in the United States or North
Incorrectly
America.
referred to.
Incorrectly, yeah, whatever. So this is the country of India. I'm going to try it again. Rajneeshpuram, the mystic. All right, I'm going to do that several times, so forgive me. Indian mystic Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh, I think I did it pretty well, attracted followers.
Somebody's listening to this podcast right now saying, no, you didn't.
Fucking Americans. By the thousand.
I thought you said we weren't going to do that now that people in India listen to us.
So this guy
bastard.
attracted followers by the thousands in the 1970s. He preached a religious-less religion that embraced sexual liberation. Think about that for a minute. A religious-less, that's a quote, a religious-less religion that embraced sexual liberation. There's a Netflix documentary called The Wild Wild Country, showing followers wearing only red and worshiping the mysteriously wealthy leader, even when he stopped speaking for a prolonged period. So if you want to see some more commentary on this, if this story strikes interest in you, go check out that Netflix special.
What's the rating on it?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. Didn't they stop doing Netflix ratings? I think they stopped it.
I have no idea.
I've never paid attention to Netflix ratings. I use Rotten Tomatoes for that.
Netflix is under some heat, speaking of Netflix.
The child thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we can talk about that. After show commentary.
After show,
We have two after show pieces.
The cuties, yeah, that's it.
Right. All right. In the early 1980s, Rajneesh was having trouble with the Indian government and sent his followers to buy a ranch in Wasco County, Oregon, bringing it back to the United States, which they converted into a compound.
If you want to do crazy shit in this world, go to the United States.
Apparently.
Go to the U.S., call a religion.
The community attracted American and international followers, some of whom left families in high-paying jobs to meditate at the feet of Rajneesh. Wasco
Rajneesh
residents.
Kusrapali. Oh, sorry, it's a
it might be the same name.
That's a Big Bang reference.
That's a pretty. So for an Indian name, I think that's a pretty common name.
Could be.
Rajneesh.
It's like John.
Wasco residents were frustrated by the cult members known as Rajneeshis to begin with, but tensions rose when Rajneeshis attempted to take over the government of a nearby town of Antelope. The cult collapsed after authorities deported Rajneesh and convicted some of his staff, including his secretary Ma Anid Shilila, of orchestrating what is coming up in the crazy act. So Indian religion brought to America, and they did something so bad that they got deported. Not so bad they were killed inside the United States, but they got deported because of their crimes. So
to me, it just sounds like the fact that they brought it from India to the U.S. These people were just clearly, it was some kind of weird money making scheme or something, or at least started out that way.
Okay, that's a
that's just what it feels like. Or why would you just keep it?
I'll tell you, it's not like, I mean, it's a little bit like one of them, but it's not like the others that are these crazy, outlandish, crazy. I mean, it's bad, but it's not that nuts. It's not like killing yourself with Kool-Aid kind of nuts.
I am going to guess that it's a heist.
Ooh, like a specifically laid out and organized plan to steal something?
To steal something.
Oh, okay, you both are wrong. At the peak of the tension, here's the crazy act. At the peak of these tensions, a circle of leading members of Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, in the Oregon commune, were arrested for crimes including attempted murder as part of the United States' first recorded bioterror attack, and calculated the influence of a local election in their favor, which ultimately failed. So they were busted with this bioterror attack, and I'll give you some more details on that. And they were trying to sway the votes of a local election. Both
were they ballot harvesting?
I don't know the details of what they were doing.
What year was this? I'm sorry.
This is recent. 1980s is when they came to the U.S. So 1985, I think.
Sounds like your source has never heard of Operation Sea Spray.
What's Operation Sea Spray?
That's when the 3-letter from the government was spraying chemical agents in the air over San Francisco, testing their effect on people. It was in the CIA big declassification thing. Was that 5 years ago now, whenever that was?
The cult collapsed and the deportations happened, and some of these criminal charges happened when they were busted orchestrating a food poisoning scheme against local restaurants. What they would do is they would go out and spray salmonella on these open buffets, like wherever open buffets might be. Ironically, they didn't kill anybody, but they did infect 700 people in this city because they went out with this terrorist mentality to try to kill a bunch of people.
That's what you get for going to Golden Corral. I'm just saying.
So maybe one of the lesser as far as crazy cults, however, still cult nonetheless. Still up there and still caught my attention.
Yeah, that's crazy. Fortunately, we can treat salmonella with fluids and bed rest, but
it's
like why would
a weak attempt?
Why would you pick like if you're gonna pick? This is awful. If you're gonna pick a chemical weapon to try and hurt people, why do you start with salmonella?
Yeah, the Japanese cult did. They used sarin gas.
Sarin nerve gas.
That's pretty intense. These people just rubbed some raw chicken on some salad.
They weren't in it. They weren't into it. These were not committed.
They were not committed. You're right. You're right. The cult leader probably said to go spray it with acid, and the translation maybe didn't work out very well. And no, I'm just kidding. All right, number 3.
Number 3.
Angel's Landing and David Perez. Is this on your list, Ron?
No.
This wasn't
so many that are not on my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what you can do with that? You can do a follow-up.
No,
A follow-up cult
I'm
list.
The
just
response episode.
Yes.
maybe we can talk about it the after show. I'll throw a couple out there.
CBS News and Heavy.com and Wikipedia were very heavy influencers on this particular topic. Angel's Landing Commune was an innocuous plot of land in a rural area near Wichita, Kansas. Again, Bible Belt of the U.S. Kansas, Oregon. What was the other one? I think there was another one in Kansas. I think there were 2 in Kansas.
Oregon is not the Bible Belt of the U.S. It's where all the hippies are.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Oregon's not a... Well, I don't know if the Bible... Yeah, no, another story for another conversation. This is where Daniel Perez, also known as Lou Castro, had power over a cult. For 15 years, Perez, a self-described seer who claimed to be a 1,000-year-old angel, led a traveling group mostly of women from state to state. Perez also claims to have, quote, magical powers. Over the years, Perez collected millions of dollars in life insurance policies from his members, his congregation, who died. In 2003, the drowning death of 26-year-old Patricia Hughes at a group's compound outside of Wichita, Kansas, was originally ruled an accident, but when police received witness testimony, they arrested Perez on suspicion of murder. Prosecutors alleged that Perez forcibly drowned Hughes to collect a life insurance policy after her death. He pled not guilty. So far, pretty basic story. Nothing too... Yes, granted, there's a murder involved here, and he did it. It gets way worse than that. And that'll be followed up in the crazy act. So what do you think that Perez and the Angel's Landing cult that caught my attention for doing something crazy? What do you think they did that was crazy?
Produced the movie Michael with John Travolta. I have no idea. Well, wasn't it an angel that supposedly was old and, whatever, traveled?
I'll tell you, I'll give you a clue. Part of what became the crazy piece to this had to do with him claiming to be 1,000-year-old angel. That's your hint.
Not much of a hint.
No, it's not. You'll never go from point A to point B with that hint. But all right, so to live 1,000 years, angel or not, I mean, it's got to take some. It's got to have some sort of fuel to keep that vessel going. Be it a divinity vessel or be it a human body, whatever it is, you need that fuel. So here's where it gets kind of crazy. Perez told his followers that he was 1,000-year-old angel. And the only way that he could survive, the only way he could stay alive in this plane of existence was to have sex with underage girls. I'm not joking. 100% that is what he convinced his...
down to stuff like that.
Sex power.
Like the 7 virgins. And it's always something like that. It's so weird.
Yeah. Following his 2015 trial for that drowning victim, Perez was convicted of 28 crimes, including first-degree murder, rape, aggravated assault, sexual exploitation of a child, and many other. The list of convictions goes on and on and on. A bunch of them are small, petty theft. Daniel Perez's cult was motivated by greed, investigators said. Prosecutors said that his trial, that he aimed to use a life insurance proceeds from the deaths of his followers to live a lavish lifestyle. He was sentenced to a life in prison. So he's still in prison as we speak.
How many has he been there for? Another 1,000?
Yeah, I wonder if he's aging in prison.
Yeah, no.
Well, he has to be. He doesn't have underage girls to have sex with.
Unless they're shipping them in.
Yeah, but he had a big following. I mean, so that's what I should have probably done with this list also is get the amount of the following. But in some cases, it's hard to put the following, like the one we did a few minutes ago, because they had so many worldwide different versions and sects. Yeah, it's tough to nail down.
Sex, SECTS.
Yes.
Okay.
Sex of a religion.
It's weird that word is pronounced almost exactly the same. Sex and sex. Sex.
You meant to blow your mind? In the word sent, what letter is silent? The S or the C? Boom. All right, number 2.
Number 2.
You ready? I know this one is on your list. I 100% know. If it's not on your list, then you're an idiot.
I'll bet you $12.
No, it's on there.
Which we know is a lot of money to Josh.
The cult known as the Manson family.
Boom.
Charles Manson.
Okay, I can check that.
So
one too.
again, this is another one of those where I'm not going to go into so much detail about the entire cult itself and the Manson family, or the Charles Manson person himself. However, this is going to touch base on just a brief piece of it and then what they did that was crazy. All right, so CBS News, Wikipedia, and like 4 other sources for the Manson family. There's tons and tons of material. Charlie Manson is one of the most, what statistics did I see on this? For podcasting, he is one of the most covered cult leaders on all podcasting platforms. So his story is out there. You can search for it and you can find it. All right. And his we'll get to that. His tie into music is amazing to me. Anyway, the Manson family was a commune and a cult created by Charles Manson in California in the 1960s. Manson's followers were mostly young women. They believed that he was a reincarnation of Jesus and that he thought that a race war was coming. He was very, very racist, very bad guy. When he began gathering his cult following, he was a singer and songwriter on the fringe of the Los Angeles music industry, chiefly through his chance association with Dennis Wilson of, anybody know? Dennis Wilson?
Nope.
The Beach Boys, who introduced Manson to the record producer Terry Meckler. In 1968, the Beach Boys recorded Manson's song, quote, "Cease to Exist," unquote. They retitled it, quote, "Never Learn Not to Love."
Kokomo. Oh, sorry.
As the B-side on one of their singles, but they never credited Manson.
I'm sure he loved that.
Well, some people speculate that non-creditation is what kind of drove him insane, because he was such an admirer of all of just music in general, and to get somebody as popular as the Beach Boys to actually produce one of your songs and then never give you credit for it, so be it. Well, the Beach Boys and Wilson and Meckler severed their ties with Manson around 1969. So his following wasn't so big or international or renowned or didn't make millions and millions of dollars. It didn't have any of this stuff, but his ability, well, you guys probably know the crazy act, but let's just see. Yes. Let's just see if you do before we go on to the rest of this. You guys, do you know what Manson did, Josh?
Let's see. He murdered a bunch of people.
No, he didn't. That's the irony. That's the really bizarre part. They can't actually, as far as I know, they can't prove that he committed any of these.
He talked others into murdering people, right. Wasn't it like in the Hollywood Hills or yeah.
This is where that manipulation piece comes in here. Manson was so savvy and so charismatic that he could convince his followers to literally do anything, and they would not question it. They would not, it didn't matter what it was. He could say, jump off the building. They're going to jump off the building. Manson instructed his followers to kill people because he believed murders would provoke a race war. He was out there specifically to stoke the race war and incite violence.
Until Brad Pitt went in and kicked some ass. Oh, sorry.
In all,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
9 people were murdered in several separate attacks. Manson was convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder. He was imprisoned until his death in 2017. Other members of the cult are currently still in prison. But yeah, he manipulated his mostly women followers to go out and kill these 9 people in 9 different times, 9 separate incidents, to try to stoke what he wanted to see as a race war. And I think what makes him one of the most, reported on or publicized cult leaders is because of his charisma. If you've ever watched an interview with him, if you've ever seen video, in his later years, his senility started to kick in. So he's just fucking batshit crazy. However, in his earlier years, when they have the recorded audio of him, some of that stuff is eerie.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks with what's the word I'm looking for? A cadence that is remarkable to listen to. You kind of fall into what he's saying. I know everyone thinks it's crazy. However, you fall into that a little bit. It's almost like a trance.
What makes them cult leaders? It's why people follow them. People don't follow. Well, come here, boy. Let me show you how what life's about. You know, no one's following that.
Yeah,
people are following people who speak eloquently, who speak intelligently, who sound like they're, like they're making sense to you, even if what they're saying seems nonsensical. They just phrase it in a way that, that really, when you think about it, that does make sense. And you just start to worship them as an individual.
All of these people were geniuses of manipulation and social engineering.
Absolutely.
They were just to
and
be
communication.
And community marketing and everything.
That's a huge one. Just verbal communication, just the way that they would speak.
Andrea said if I started a cult, she would follow me. And I told her what you told me is like all cult leaders have sex with all of their followers, though. She's like, okay, I don't want to do it anymore.
She's like, I'm out.
All right.
Every time we have sex, we have kids.
So I would have normally put Charlie Manson as number one. The Manson family is one of the most famous and infamous groups that are out there, but I didn't. I put on one that I don't think that either one of you have ever heard of before, because I certainly had not. But it's, I don't even know the best way to go into what some of their crazy acts were, but let's do it. Let's do it. On the top 10 crazy cults, this is number one.
Number one.
Nothing wrong. All right.
0.
Number one is the Movement for the Restoration of the 10 Commandments of God cult.
No, I definitely.
It's a lot to say.
Definitely never heard of that.
It's bizarre, though. I mean, it's just the name off the top is like, okay, that's a little bit of a weird one. So this is from CBS News and Wikipedia. The Movement for the Restoration of the 10 Commandments of God was a breakaway movement from the Roman Catholic Church founded in Uganda. Our one download that we just got, by the way, Uganda. Thank you, Uganda. In the 1980s. The group believed, and this was not because of that one download, by the way. This just was an amazing story.
Hey, we got somebody from Uganda. Let me see how I can work this into a podcast.
The group believed that the apocalypse would occur on December 31st, 1999, and to avoid damnation, members had to follow the 10 Commandments very strictly, like to the T.
I guess that's kind of the idea, though, right?
This isn't Y2K?
This is 100% Y2K, but this is not the Y2K that you're tracking and you're aware of. We all thought Y2K was going to be computers would all break. These people thought that was going to 100% be the end of the world. And they, from the 1980s to 2000, so they had 17, 15, 20 years, whatever, to build this cult up. The goal of the movement of the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God were to obey the 10 Commandments and preach the word of Jesus Christ. So very, Catholic-based or Christianity-based at least. They'd have to be 10 Commandments.
So far, very evangelical.
Yeah. They thought to avoid damnation in the apocalypse, one had to strictly follow the commandments. Leaders even discouraged talking to avoid breaking the 9th commandment. Anybody here a religious buff? What was the 9th commandment?
Thou shalt not talk?
No.
I have no idea.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, meaning don't lie. That's shorthand for that would be to just don't lie. So they knew that, we're humans. Human nature is going to make us lie. But if you lied, well, you're not going to be accepted into the gates of heaven. As 2000 approached, the group prepared for the end. When the apocalypse didn't happen, leaders proposed a new date, March 17th of 2000. And then that moves us on to the crazy act. What do you think this group did that caught my attention as absolutely crazy and moved us on into the crazy act? What do you think they did?
They bombed a Chinese New Year parade.
All right, not bad. No.
I got nothing.
Nothing? All right.
That's in March, right? Or is that's February, isn't it?
March is St. Patrick's Day?
I know it moves around a little bit.
Isn't March 17th St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know that either.
All right, let's move on to the crazy act. The leaders planned a big party at a secluded church. Well, multiple secluded churches in different parts of the world, in different parts of Uganda. After guests arrived, the venue burst into flames. All 530 people in the main church were killed, including dozens of children. The windows and doors had been boarded up to bar their escape. After the fire, police found hundreds of other bodies in the compound across all the different churches in Uganda that were part of this cult. Many victims had been poisoned. In all, a total of 924 people died. Police initially suspected mass suicide, but later determined that their deaths were as a result of a mass murder. After interviews and an investigation were conducted, the police ruled out cult suicide and instead considered it to be mass murder conducted by the movement's leadership. They believed that the failure of the doomsday prophecy led to a revolt in the ranks of the sect, Ron, and the leaders set a new date with a plan to eliminate their followers. So basically, when 2000 came and went and nobody died, this group was so pissed off that the end of the world didn't happen, that they decided to kill all of their congregation that wanted to come to this party celebrating the end of the world. To them, it was the end of the world. I mean, it came to an end.
That is so much easier than just saying you were wrong.
They had some hot sect right there. Boom.
They wrote some more letters for the people.
For the people, they had hot sect.
Nice
hot
throwback.
sect for the people.
The discovery of the bodies at the other sites, the fact that the church had been boarded up, the presence of incendiaries, and the possible disappearance of sect leaders all point to this theory. Still a theory, by the way. Additionally, witnesses said the movement leadership had never spoken of mass suicide when preparing members for the end of the world. Suicide was never even on the plate for them.
Wow, so they were just shitty people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were bitter that the end of the world didn't happen.
That might be the worst one. Almost. Besides maybe the Kool-Aid.
So it's hard to weigh that because of the number of people, because of how their aggression turned out in the end to be what killed all of them. I mean, it's hard to really quantify, what's
burning
crazy.
people alive purposely.
Because there
Children.
no how do I put this? I'm trying to find a delicate way to word this. The people who chose to participate in mass suicide were very clearly manipulated in terrible ways to do that. I think that this is the worst one, though, because those people were not manipulated in that way.
They were literally trapped and then murdered.
They were just trapped and then murdered and then burned alive. And I don't remember where I read this, but even burning alive is considered the worst way to die. All of your nerves slowly singe back, and I guess you feel it all, and it's awful.
Oh yeah. So the story here doesn't. I didn't actually write down all of the details of that one, but just remembering it, the majority of the bodies didn't die from burning. Most of them were asphyxiated, meaning they were choked with. And actually, what it referenced in there was bamboo shoots, like bamboo strings almost. In Uganda, I guess they use bamboo for a lot of their tie downs and stuff. Yeah.
At least there's a mercy in that, I suppose.
I guess so. But
man, that was dark. That was an awesome list.
That was cults.
That was so good.
Cults. Crazy cults. Oh, I loved it. Writing that. It was hard to pick because there's so many fucking absolute nut jobs out there that are cult leaders, and some of the stuff that they've done is just astronomically unbelievable to logically think about.
Evil is the word.
Yeah. And I know for those who are the deep dive type of people, I didn't spend too much time on each one of those, but I did that on purpose. We're already at, an hour and a half into this. We could have expanded on one of them for as long as we've been in here talking.
8-hour episode.
So yeah, if any of those struck your fancy, then go check them out online, do a little bit of research, go check out some of our friends' podcasts, either Hysteria 51 or Time Suck, because both of them have done topics on some of these. So
Stuff You Should Know. It's another good show.
That's a great point.
They've got cult episodes as well.
So that's our cult episode, boys. It's in the books.
That actually,
good job.
Saying that just reminded me, I had a thought earlier. You mentioned how a lot of these places are kind of in the Midwest or the West Coast themselves. I'm not trying to hard plug Stuff You Should Know, but they did an episode. I talked about it recently on another episode about mysticism. They did an episode on the origins of American mysticism.
Who? Mr. Who?
Mysticism?
Mysticism?
Had to.
And it all started during the westward expansion, early 1900s. It was the American splinter religious movements. And they kind of talk about that. I went into mysticism specifically, but you talk about like these crazy, or I guess relatively crazy religious. I mean, these obviously turn negative, but there's a lot of examples of this type of splintered religion when people were just out in the middle of nowhere with them and the same 50 people trying not to die to awful nature conditions. It's just pretty wild.
Oregon Trail in real life.
Oregon Trail happened in real life, though.
I know. No, I know. I'm joking about that. Your son died of cholera. Damn it.
Again, reboot.
Start over. Ron, you know what Oregon Trail was, right? You're old enough to remember that.
Nope.
Really?
No idea.
It's a game you played in like elementary school, and when we were young. Josh probably
I played the
barely touched
shit
it.
out of Oregon Trail.
Did you?
Yeah, no, I don't even know.
Oh man, I
what
played
that
so
is.
much as a kid.
All right. It's where you control your little dude going through with your family, and they have a cart and wagon and a horse, and you're trying to make it through, and you have all these obstacles that come at you.
Gotta hunt things.
Is this like a board game?
Forge rivers.
It's one of the original. I think it started out on cassette tape video games. It was a video game.
I played it on 8.5-inch floppies. That's how I played Oregon Trail on the like Apple II.
I got an 8.5-inch
Is this
floppy
like the
for you.
games that you literally they just type something out and you just choose?
No, it wasn't text.
It was
Did it do
actually
that?
it was very text based in how it told the story, but it was actually for its late 80s time period was a great.
The old 8-bit graphics or something. I
it
don't
was-
think it was that. It
it
was
had-
monochrome, green on green screens.
Yeah, it had. It had graphics. It had art to it. It was one of the early games that had art like that. I don't want to, oversell like it's the accidental 4K hit of the late 80s, but it had art and it like Adam makes a joke. Your son died of cholera, and like it flashed on the screen. You'd see like a tombstone that said like how the kid's name and cause of death cholera. It was dark.
Jebediah Winthrop died of cholera. All right, you guys ready to get out of here?
No, I'm ready to go do the after show though.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So for the listeners out there, we do this after show. It is available on Patreon. In this episode, you may have heard a plug for it during our break. So if you want to get some more out of your hosts, Ron categorized or catchphrased that perfectly. Come for the show. Stay for the hosts.
Guaranteed no one's gonna do it. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't do a lists in the Patreon. These are just bonus shows. They're like 30 minutes each, but it's on all sorts of crazy topics. It's on stuff that what are we going to talk about tonight? We talked about it during the show. All right,
Cuties,
yeah. So the Netflix
controversy.
And we
the Netflix
promise
controversy.
Josh won't be there. No, I'm just kidding.
So there you go.
Yeah, I got a religion to start because I want some money.
You want to hear our take on some of the stuff like that? We've talked about some science stuff in the past. We've talked about some philosophy stuff in the past. We get really drunk and just get on mic and just have some fun. So check out the after show. Go to patreon.com/twisted10 and sign up for a membership. If anything, if you enjoy the show, your contributions and your donations and pledges there help us to keep the studio afloat. So that buys us new equipment that will keep the lights on in the studio, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and the after show is $5 a month.
Yeah, so it's not bad.
That's
You
4
get-
free episodes. That's
exactly
2
right.
to 3 hours of free content. Not free content. 2 to 3 hours of extra content.
Free. It's only $5 a
It's
month.
only
It's
$5.
free.
It's free. Yeah, you just pay for the membership. We give you the episodes at no additional cost.
All right, let's get out of here to the after show. On behalf of the Twisted 10, I am Adam,
Ron.
And I'm Josh.
and you just listened to Cults. Oh yeah.